When I became a Muslim through those who had been a member but had fallen out. You understand? So they became disillusioned with the nation, not me. I wasn't a member to be disillusioned. So with regard to my journey was that I learned Islam through their teachings, and then when I did join the World Community of Al-Islam in the West, it was under the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's son, Warith Deen Muhammad. And that, a lot of that is kind of, but he had also left his father to follow Malcolm. So some people still referred to the World Community of Al-Islam in the West, led by Warith Deen Muhammad, as being the nation. But I was never a member of the nation. I did not have a number. I did not have a name that was given to me by the Honorable Elijah. I respected his leadership. I respected him. But from a religious standpoint, I had some differences, and that's why I did not join his organization, but I did join those persons that had been a member of his organization in later years. Yes?
A couple questions. What was the name of the organization that you did join? And then what was it like being a judge and a deputy mayor as a Muslim? Third, what suggestions or things you would like to share with people that are Muslims that want to get involved in the United States today, involved in the government in different aspects, as due to the climate of today?
Okay. The organizations that I was a member of, that I did join, that had been at one point affiliated with or members of the Nation of Islam, were, in order, the Dodge Revolutionary Union movement called DRUM, the League of Revolutionary Black Workers, which was a part of the effort to create revolutionary change in the plants as it relates to their black workers. And in terms of the Pan-African Congress in Detroit, those were organizations that I was a member of, where many of their members had been at one time a member of the Nation of Islam. Now, in reference to the change that I have tried to establish, were changes essentially in the rights of the working class people, the people mainly of color. But I have never been so color conscious that I was not aware of class wrongs. So color and class have been a part of my struggle since my 17, 18 year of life, and organizations affiliated. So those were the principal ones. The question as to Islam was, it balanced me in a manner that allowed me to being able to have better direction, not to be so caught up emotionally where I burnt up myself in terms of emotions that were in reaction to what was going on. One of the things that Islam taught me was not only peace is a goal in terms of what we do, but peace within is actually an achievable goal with when we understand our spiritual, our mental, and our physical side and balance them in such a manner that we can grow and learn in that process. What I encourage young Muslims to be able to understand is what I encourage all people to understand. We're connected as one creation, and that we have obligations to each other, and that we cannot expect anyone to do something for ourselves unless we are reaching out, and it is our obligation to reach out to do something against injustice to anyone who has and is suffering that injustice. So from the standpoint of young people becoming involved, I think it's their obligation to become involved whenever there is some injustice. We don't have the luxury of being able to tolerate injustice. And as a Muslim, we have an obligation to try to right wrong. And that's pretty much my philosophy. I hope I've answered it, but
yes.
Judge?
Yes.
I wanted to just follow up on that.
Yes.
So we're now, we've come through a period where we saw a lot of progress in certain areas of civil rights, racial justice, where we actually had the support of the Department of Justice for many of the things that we were trying to advance. And so now we've seen that end with the election. So what advice do you have for advocates in terms of, we're now facing a situation where it's unlikely that the Attorney General will be going to court to enforce voting rights. As a matter of fact, the very opposite may well happen. So do you have any?
Well, I believe that every change comes as a result of a struggle. No one concedes anything. So the struggle that got us to a point which had the Attorney General's office doing anything about civil rights was a struggle that began with marches, began with protests, began with organizing. And in the trade union aspect of things, in my experience, is that workers have the ability, since they are producing the wealth, to control how it is that wealth is being dispersed. And so when they sat down, as Mrs. Park sat down so we could stand up, well, there were workers that sat down at Ford's. There were workers that sat down at other places so that women could be paid the same wages as men on the job, in the contracts, in the negotiations. So from the standpoint of where we go from here is kind of similar to while I wasn't in the military. I heard Coleman refer to it at one time, the late Mayor Coleman A. Young. I heard him refer to it, he says, when you take a hill, you don't just sit back and say, oh, the war is over, we got this hill. No, you dig in and be prepared to defend that which you have taken. What we fail to do as a people in America, black and white, is we fail to understand that when we make gains, the enemy, those opposed to the gains that we make, are still fighting to undo the gains that we have made. We don't dig in and we don't defend. We convey that to those who we have elected. And those persons who we have elected are not the ones, oftentimes, who have made the fight. So you have to dig in to ensure that they continue the fight. One of the problems that I have noticed just in observation is that African American people who have elected leadership have thought that person was the Messiah, and they're going to make the change. Oh, we're so happy, we're just so glad we got the first this, the first that. Well, the first is going to have enemies to make sure there isn't a second. And the first is going to be fought every time he tries to change anything that existed before he or she became the first. So I think what we have to begin to understand and realize is that we have to be very supportive. We can't cut that person loose. We enable ourselves to achieve more by continuing the support, but continuing also to try as much as we can to dig in and to keep moving forward, because the enemy is still going to continue to fight. Every time in this last election that Donald Trump was knocked out cold, everything by 16 or 17 opposing people in the Republican primaries, he jumped back up. He fought. He understood that it's not over till it's over. And he kept fighting. We sat back, those of us that were supportive of Hillary, and we allowed ourselves to think that, oh, well, she's going to win. He can't. How can he recover from this? My goodness, nobody ever had anything happen. No, he's done. And we listened to the 24-hour babble of nothingness in these political prognosticators who know no more than you or I say, oh, it's 89. The experts say it's 90% that she's in there. Well, the experts have one vote. We have one vote. So we have to stay diligent. We have to keep the fight going now. We have to, no government can go against the people and long prevail. But if the people are silent, any government can create a dictatorship. All they need is for the majority of the people to do nothing. And that's what we cannot and should never give up our fight for justice. Any other questions? Yes.
No, earlier you spoke on working against social injustice gave you a lot of self-gratification. So can you point out something that either social injustice that you directly or indirectly had a hand in engineering the change against, whether it be a policy, legal policy, or an action that you're probably most proud of?
Well, I'm proud of a lot of things. It's like asking,
Well, if you can narrow it down.
yeah, how many, you got 10 kids, which one you love the best? Well, I love them all. So what I would say has brought me gratification has been when I have had an opportunity of having change occur from someone that began at a certain point that I know there was a need for growth. And then through the opportunities of listening to what I had to say or being exposed to what I could expose them to, brought about a awareness that led them to some change, which is why a part of my life that